All right. Hi, Marco. Thank you for joining. We've been in touch. I found your company, just a background. You guys had a really effective ad on LinkedIn, which was great. So, by the way, LinkedIn advertising works, video ads work. And the way it was structured, it was just straight to the point. I literally saw it for 3 seconds and and it was clear that I want to know more about this thing. So really good job. And
Thank you.
the rest of the timeline, I contacted your company and you guys are
Mhm.
gracious to just explain what you have to offer. So the company is called Recurrent Auto. Is that correct?
Yeah, you're just recurrent.
Recurrent. Okay.
Yeah, it's
So
correct.
let's go ahead. Tell me what you guys do and why is it good?
Yeah. Well, we've been around since 2020, just as EVs really started to pick up, and we saw just a real lack of education. You saw all these EV buyers go out there, and they just didn't really know what they were buying. I think that when you're usually buying a vehicle, you're used to understanding that air filters need to be replaced, oil changes need to be completed. These were things that may be passed down through parents or through family members and or just the previous vehicles you'd owned. And now we had a whole wave of consumers coming in, not really equipped to ask the right questions. They didn't know what they didn't know. So they didn't even know to ask the questions. They probably should be asking to make sure that they buy the right vehicle for them, have the best experience. And so we felt that, well, if we want to help more people get into electric vehicles, we need to answer those questions for the shoppers. But at the same time, we need to answer it for the dealers as well, because the dealers were kind of in the same place. I can imagine that most OEMs gave, a small bit of training to the dealerships and got them up and running. But if anyone has worked around dealerships, sales reps like come and go in some of these dealerships, and it could be a new person 2 weeks later and they also didn't have the tools to talk about EVs. What does EPA range mean? What do you mean it loses some range in cold weather? How do I charge? Most people didn't know what like level one and level two meant in terms of charging. But 5 years ago, we actually had to explain level one means this. It looks like this kind of outlet. Level two means this. It's this shape. And already we're seeing the market understand some of those basic concepts and everyone's getting more in tune. So we said, let's educate people. Let's help dealers. Let's help people just be confident buying and selling EVs. And how are we going to do that? Well, we grabbed a bunch of data scientists, a bunch of PhDs, primarily from the University of Washington, here just in Seattle, and we started to essentially connect to privately owned vehicles. So let's say, Mika, you have a Tesla Model 3, you've bought it, and you're trying to understand how to take care of it. Like, how do I know how to look up this vehicle? I don't want to break it. I know my iPhone battery goes bad in 2 years. I don't want to do the same thing for my EV. And so we were connecting to all these vehicles through the connected services account, so the vehicle API, and the vehicles started sending us information. Um, and kind of fast forward a few years, we had over 50,000 privately owned vehicles in all 50 states driving around sending us data every single day. We just achieved over 1 billion miles of EV data just from the US alone. So with that data, we said, okay, how do we help the buyers and sellers make confident decisions when it comes to EVs? And we identified very quickly that how vehicles perform over time, how they operate in different temperatures is really important to EV buyers. So Minka, if I said to you, um, you want to buy a used Tesla Model 3, oh, it's 3 years old. Like, is the battery still good? How do these degrade? My cell phone's dead after 3 years. Is a Tesla the same? And so we looked at the data and we could essentially analyze and see, okay, the rate of degradation is actually quite low. And how do we now tell a used EV buyer, especially like, hey, this vehicle has 60,000 miles on it. It's 5 years old, but you don't actually have to worry. Like these batteries hold up very, very well. It's, maybe let's say 92% of its original range. And so that was the data that we started then like flowing into the market, into dealerships, etc.
Okay, so got the data. Now, what do you guys offer right now? That all sounds like more than what I thought. I thought you just like, get the range off the window sticker and plug it in. So what do you then what do you have to offer me as a dealer?
Yes, exactly right. So let's say you're a dealer. If you're in a really cold climate, well, I'm going to help you put a used EV on your lot that's going to perform really well in winter. Let's take for example, I was just looking at a bunch of Kia data. So if we take a step back, there are 500,000 off-lease EVs hitting the market, over essentially the next 12 to 15 months, right? Massive EV lease returns from all the incentives that were used, to take EV leases in 2023, and into 2024. I looked at the Kia data, and I pulled it up here because it's super interesting. So 3 years ago, when you were trying to buy a Kia EV6, the wind all-wheel drive, and you're looking at the Tesla Model Y long range all-wheel drive, at a really similar price, the EV6 EPA range was about 303 miles. That was expected of this vehicle. Oh, sorry. When it started was 282 for the Kia, 330 for the Tesla. A lot of people bought the Tesla. 3 years later, 36,000 miles later, the Kia is exceeding its EPA when it was new. It's actually on average doing 303, and the Tesla's doing 274, which is completely different to, the EPA numbers and where it started. Kia, and it's just one example, was very conservative with their EPA estimates, and maybe Tesla was a little too ambitious with their estimates. So now I'm a dealer. Imagine I'm a Kia dealer, and I'm trying to put EVs on my lot. Now, traditional wisdom would tell me grab the Tesla, put it on the lot because it has really good range. Well, the Kia franchise dealers don't know that their own vehicles outperforming Model Ys, and comfortably so in the used market. If they were to just look at EPA, they'd say, "Oh, our product isn't as good as the Tesla," and everyone's thinking about range. And I'm here saying, "Well, Kia dealer, your EV6, wind all-wheel drive is outperforming a Model Y all-wheel drive after 3 years, 36,000 miles, and comfortably so." So it's like that is the data that we wanted to get into all the dealerships, and for shoppers to know what they're buying. Is it losing range? Is it exceeding EPA range? Like, what does that look like for me? And so when a dealer then, looks to add Recurrent to their website or use it as a tool, I'll share my screen and show you what that looks like. This is it. This is one of our. Well, I went straight into the photos. So this is one of our dealers in the Bay Area, Dale Grant Dealer Group, amazing partners. So we, for them, dropped in a widget that essentially answered all those questions. I picked an EV6 because this is a 2023 with 43,000 miles. And look at this, it's exceeding its EPA range today, a 302 on a 274. And we project 3 years from now, based on its current degradation trajectory, it will still exceed its EPA by about 20 miles. So now you're talking about a 6-year-old vehicle with a 10-year, 100,000-mile warranty that is still exceeding its EPA range from where it was new. Like, that is why we collected 1 billion miles of data, because we felt that it was best for the dealer to know exactly what they were selling and could sell the best product, and it was like absolutely the most transparent for the buyer, in order to know, if they're making the second largest purchase, potentially of their life behind, a home, and they're putting down $40,000, $50,000 or $30,000, that they have have confidence in how far this vehicle is going to go. And so on that dealer experience, we put it in a beautiful iframe. Dealer just drops it in. tells the owners or the buyers how far the vehicle can go, one-way return. And then, as we know, thanks to our friends at Plug-in America, the other key things that shoppers are thinking about aside from range and range degradation is charging time and savings. So we said, well, if my daily drive is 35 miles, how long will it take me to charge at home on a level 2 charger? And if I'm on the road, if I need to just add 100 miles on the go, I'm on a road trip, how many minutes do I need to stop for to add 100 miles? And then we went into savings as well. We can get a little bit geekier as well, Miko, if we really want to jump in, where someone can view the full report on this vehicle. And now it's showing this vehicle based on my geographic location. It's showing me performance at different times of the year. So in colder climates, I'm losing a bit of range, and warmer warmer climate, I'm gaining a bit more range. But really going for like all that detail. And our whole goal here, oh, sorry, I got to share this tab. Our whole goal here was essentially for to build confidence in the deal. So when a buyer comes to one of our dealers' website, we can very quickly and easily answer like those key questions. If I buy this, how far will it go today? How far will it go 3 years from now? How quickly can I charge it? Where? How far can I drive? How much money can I save? And doing that as quickly as possible in as short a period of time as possible.
Okay, so can you go back to the share screen? Was that a live website or was it?
Yeah.
Okay, so can you show me one more
Yeah,
time?
let me pull it up. Sure.
Pull it up and show me like that vehicle details page, I guess.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So where is it on the vehicle details page? And is it available on the listing page?
Yeah, it's on the VDP right here. So just scroll
VDP.
down.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what's the CTA? Because I'm a little bit. Oh, it's not a CTA. It's just plugged in on the bottom of the website, right?
Yeah, I mean, we have dealers put it in all different places. We essentially, this is just one example of like an iframe that we create. We have different shapes and sizes, and some dealers want to put it on the right-hand side,
Right.
under this section. Others put it here. But the whole goal was not to make it about us. We're not trying to make it about Recurrent. We're just trying to, like I said, we know what the main questions are that shoppers have.
Yeah.
How do we, as quickly as possible, answer them? We don't want people to get stuck. We don't want them to say, oh, that's interesting. I'm going to go to Reddit and spend 4 hours researching level 2 degradation and supercharging. We just wanted to use all of the data that we've collected and just display it really quickly and easily, so that a shopper's like, okay, this is compelling. And it's the same for the sales reps as well. Actually went into a customer's dealership, and I asked a sales rep who'd been there for about 2 months. I said, how are things going? Like, how are you liking the Recurrent data? And he goes, well, I have no idea what that is. I was like, well, show me how you sell an EV. And then he pulled up all the Recurrent data and said, oh, I take them through this, that, and the other. And I use this. I swivel my screen and I show them how far they can drive, how they charge, how they estimate their savings. And it turned out a large percentage of the usage for that deal is actually just coming from the dealer reps telling the EV story. So we felt that was really good because the same content and data is made available to all parties, like in true transparency. The dealer has all the data, the buyer has all the data.
Question. These are used cars. Is it available on new cars?
Yeah, absolutely. We do essentially the same thing on new. The expected range is obviously going to be different because it's, on day one it starts with EPA, but it looks near identical.
Okay. And the driving range, the map, like I really like the map, but the map is assuming from the dealership address, right?
Correct.
Can I change it to my home address?
You can change it right
Edit
here.
location. Perfect. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. But if you open the report, because we host the full report, see, it's picking up my location now. So it knows my location.
Sure.
But we typically start. Oops, sorry. Here it is. on the full report that we host, it picks up my location. But yeah, the shopper or anyone can adjust this location here.
Okay. So now, and I'm just like thinking
Sure.
out loud on the run. Again, if I'm a dealer, and what I do is like, I try to help dealers to improve conversion on their websites.
Mm-hmm.
What if I'm a dealer? Like, and I appreciate your approach in transparency. Everything is readily available. That's great for customers. Now, this will be a little maybe sensitive, but what if I'm a dealer that I don't want to be as friendly and I want to have a little bit of back and forth conversation with the customer? So the question
Yeah.
is, can it be a CTA?
I don't. I we've considered it, but like I don't know if it needs to be. I think that dealer websites are really busy already. One of the things that we've seen is, and what I kind of really love about this website, it's actually going to a cleaner approach with a really specific CTA.
Yeah.
The data overall is really good. I don't need to hide the data behind something. I don't need to like
Okay.
create a little trap around the data, because it's, a CTA is also another fence in the way. It's just another roadblock. And I think what's really hard for dealers is you got to be really calculated around where you put a CTA, or how do you like hide information behind CTAs. We've never had ever in all of our years had a dealer ask us to hide or move or change any of the data. So
Okay, and that's fair.
I'll let you know.
I'm
Yeah,
not.
yeah.
I'm just like, because I deal with dealers and I see some
Mhm.
dealers, they will hide everything. So
Yeah,
then if I'm a provider, I have a choice. Do I say, I'm not going to do
yeah,
that for you, or I have to do that? So if you guys don't
yeah.
do that, that's totally fine. No complaints from me.
Yeah,
Um,
I will say, just quickly on that, I will say one of the things on that information is that the information is like overwhelmingly positive. So I've never felt that we've also like had to hide something that could be bad.
yeah.
If that makes sense. Like I think overall all the vehicles are performing a lot better than expected. So that's probably
Well,
why it hasn't come up.
yeah, no, there's no argument there. I'm sure that the information is great. The electric vehicles make
Mm.
total sense. I have an electric vehicle. I have a BMW i4. Um,
Oh, nice.
but like again, from the logic, not my logic, but
Yeah,
from
yeah, yeah,
logic of
yeah,
those dealers, like for example, when they hide the best price behind the CTA.
yeah,
So best price is a
yeah,
good
yeah,
information, right? Supposedly they're
yeah,
gonna give you a discount, but they still
yeah.
hide it. Okay, so
It's
got
gonna happen now, and I'll call you. It's gonna happen like this week. Someone's gonna ask. I'm gonna call you and say, you know what? They asked.
it's possible, yeah, but that's like your business approach. But for now, I get it. Um, okay, so questions that I have.
Sure.
So it looks like you call it an iframe, but it's not a
Mhm.
pop-up, right? It doesn't open a separate screen. If I click on the report, then it does open a separate screen,
It
right?
opens a separate tab. Yeah, that's right.
Separate tab. And on that tab, is that going to be somehow connected to like back to the dealer, or is that a little just like difficult?
It's just a tab that opens in a separate tab. We had one or two asks to like create a back to dealer link in the top.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, we haven't really had a strong signal either way to make any changes to it. I think the dealers knew that if you want to surface information that is specific to the IP address
Yeah.
of someone searching, then you can't, perform that in the BDP.
Okay. Okay. So I'm just like on the separate screen, just to, I'm not trying to hide something. I opened that dealership, which I know,
Mm.
DG. I know I have people who work there. Um, Here's what's concerning me. And
Mhm.
again, if I'm a dealer, I might give you pushback on that.
Yeah.
When I open that report from that dealership, I have your website, which is fine, Recurrent, and then I have the tab
Hmm.
that says, I have a tab that says Find,
Hmm.
and on that tab, I can shop for a different car, right?
Mm.
So,
Yeah, I mean, well, so one of the things we got asked by dealers was,
mhm,
how do we, how do they make us responsible for like high level research and top of funnel research rather than hosting it themselves? And so one of the ways we responded to that was because we produce a ton of content, a ton of research, and we said, look, we can just put it in the report if someone wants to like keep searching. But I think I would probably say it's somewhat underutilized as a fine tool. But yeah, the challenge has always been, get all the research that you want at the dealer level, but don't take them off your page. I think that's been a kind of a constant back and forth, with dealers for sure.
okay. All right. Um, okay, so back to the built-in part is just an iframe. Can you say
Hmm.
anything? Does it affect the speed of the website? How does it affect it?
No, no, I mean, you can go and load and reload, like the iframes pop up super quickly. Um, Yeah, I've never had an issue. I mean, because we've been around for so long, all of these iframe iterations we've gone through, the reason we chose iframes is because they're very light and easy to implement.
Mhm.
That was all just based on dealer feedback. We started with a tiny little badge a couple of years ago that just had like one score and a descriptor. And then what you see today has evolved to essentially showing the full report more or less on the VDP. Um, Beyond dealers, there are other ways to implement. So we work with, cars.com, the marketplace, and Edmunds Marketplace. And so they're really different. They just do a full API native approach. So
Mhm.
they display it in their look and feel. We can do that for dealers as well. It's just a really big lift for a dealer to work with their website provider
Yeah.
to want to do that. But we've been supporting that in the industry for coming on 4 years now, that approach. But dealers typically say, like it's up and running in a day, in or two, it's live and it's good to go.
Okay. And if I'm a dealer and I say, okay, I like everything, I don't like that free electric vehicle report, is it customizable? Can I remove it?
Yeah, we could just make a different iframe.
Okay. Okay.
We've had iframes that have been like tweaked for really specific dealers, like they had a really specific color palette or something they wanted to change, and we just stand up another iframe. So we've got
Okay.
like a whole library of iframes. Some are specific to specific customers, and others are
Right.
generic. Different shape sizes. Some are vertical. This one's horizontal. Multiple. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And again, I really like the idea. I'm just like thinking, what
Yeah,
do
I
I
love
hear
it.
from dealers? And like another, just again, a concern that I have, like with a
Mm-hmm.
whole other provider, that anytime somebody clicks on something on your website and goes off the website, they lose the
Yeah.
visibility on the GA form,
Mm.
right? So
Mm.
again, that's why I keep pounding on this question,
Yeah.
because that's what I hear from dealers.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. One thing that just popped into my head, because you said it's
Mm.
your data, right? That information could
Mm-hmm.
be different from what the MSRP stickers say. Um, is there any legal questions? Like if the customer buys the car and then, of course, not of course, take it back, maybe it
Yeah.
does not perform the way it's
Mm-hmm.
supposed to perform. And then
Yeah.
the customer goes to dealer and says, well, your website says it's 300
Mm.
miles. I only get 245.
For sure.
Is the
Yeah.
dealer viable? I mean, liable, or you? I mean, obviously, you're not going to be liable. You didn't sell
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
car. You're in a different state.
Yeah.
But what if I'm a dealer now? I have to deal with it.
Yeah. I mean, it's literally the same thing that's happened with expected MPG for gas vehicles. It's the kind of the same thing. I buy my Toyota Camry hybrid. My MPG is 49.
Yeah.
Hang on,
Okay.
I got 37. And like in the same way that the OEM puts the disclaimer around you may or may not get this MPG. This is to the best of our ability. We do the same. I think what's interesting, though, what we're finding in the data is that a lot of the vehicles are performing better than expected.
Right.
So it's less like, so that's where it's like a positive news story. It's not like the dealer saying the EPA was 300 and now it's 200. In 95% of cases, it's around EPA, and in many, it's actually above EPA.
Gotcha. Okay. All right, fair enough. And then, obviously the question that a dealer is going to ask, what's it going to cost me?
I mean, so we took a pretty unique approach to pricing. Typically, pricing is based on the number of rooftops. So let's say you have a tool, you sell it for a couple $100 a rooftop. We actually do pricing at the group level based on the number of EVs they have in inventory in a given month. The reason for that is we have a number of dealers who are spread out across a number of states. One rooftop has 40 EVs, the other one has 4. So I don't want to mess around with different pricing or like a fixed flat rate. I don't think it's fair to the group. What we say is all the EVs you have across all of your rooftops, let's just assume that's one dealership. And so what is the price bucket that falls into? So that could be from 100 to a couple hundred to $500 a month. But what's important here is that when that dealer group has less EVs, they pay less. We look at how many EVs they have, how many reports we created that month, and they pay less. If they have no EVs, then they're paying essentially zero. If in 2 months they ramp up and they have 100 EVs, then they're paying more. If they're selling more EVs and we're helping them sell them, then we make money. If they are taking a break from EVs or selling less EVs, we can't sit here and justify charging them a flat rate. So the whole goal there was just make it fair. If they have more EVs, they pay a little bit more, and if they have less, they pay less, and we monitor that for them.
Okay.
Especially what we saw in Q4, at the end of the tax credits.
Yeah, you're saying it's kind of like per vehicle listed, more or less?
Yeah, we put them in bands. So, like up to 15 or 20 vehicles,
Right.
20 to 40, 40 to 60, so on and so forth. And then we watch every month.
Yeah.
And we'll reach out to a dealer and say, hey, like your bill is $100 more this month or $150 less because you bought or sold less, EVs.
Okay.
It's totally fair.
Yeah, that sounds totally fair. Do you have any Toyota customers that you're willing to share, Toyota dealers?
Not, I have to look up. We've got like over 500 dealers. I'd have to ask someone on my team. I think we have a couple of Toyota customers for their plug-in hybrids, but yeah, I mean, still ask your question and I'll answer it to the best of my ability.
Okay, and that actually reminds me of another question that I thought maybe it's a silly question. Plug-in hybrids, the tool works for plug-in hybrid as well.
Yeah, if it has a plug, if it's new or used, if it has a plug, we'll produce a report for it, produce that data for it.
Got it. And next question that I just thought about, and it's kind of vague, but
sure.
Is there any metric or data that you could show a dealer to show that the tool is being used? Like, for example, the customer engagement with the tool. Is there a report that you can provide?
I mean, we'll obviously just track it because it's an iPhone. We'll just track the clicks and everything for that exact customer, and then we'll share it with them every month. I will say what's really interesting with dealers is that I've noticed more and more so in the last year or so that they take a different approach to measuring engagement. We have some dealers who want everything as a click and an interaction, and then others will say, actually, we want their click and interaction to be our CTA and the pricing, which you don't want other clicks. And so, how I mentioned before about different implementation options, some will say, just put the data up there. I don't want too much interaction. I want them focused on my CTA. So it becomes one of the things we try to be really collaborative with when we sign a new deal. It's like, how are you measuring success? So we have, one deal that says, I'm not going to focus heavily on clicks. I know it's valuable, But then we determined that the EVs, where we A/B test, the EVs that had our data sold 25% faster than those that didn't when a
Right.
seller was cross shipping. So that was their version of success, was how quickly it sold where there was recurrent data. And then the opposite is also true, where a dealer will say, even if it doesn't turn to a lead, even if it doesn't sell, it's working because people click.
Yeah.
So that's a really important thing I find we got to like work through with dealers, is saying, how do you measure success? Like, what do you kind of expect from this experience? And then they all have respectfully their own view of how they want that tool to work.
Okay, great. All right. Marco, is there anything else you want to say about the tool that I didn't ask that you think is important?
I mean, I think for kind of what I called out before, I think for dealers, especially, and for OEMs, I'll say it again, there are a lot of uh, OEMs whose vehicles are outperforming their EPA range from when they were new. Like I've called out Kias, I'm going to call out Hyundais, I'm going to call out Audis. Some of these brands are doing a phenomenal job. And, I definitely want to work, especially with those dealers, because the vehicles that they have are better than they think.
Yeah.
And anything to help them sell those vehicles off the data we have is, it's an honor for us to help them do that.
Okay. And like to finalize, I have like really vague, it's not even a question, but like a thought and a
Sure.
concern that unfortunately EVs became a political issue, right? And the misinformation
Yeah.
is insane.
Yeah.
So like clearly your tool, it looks agnostic, it doesn't mention anything of that, and it shouldn't really, right? It's not what it's about, but do you have any feelings of that? Like, what do we do with it?
Not really, because I think that um, anyone who's sitting in the middle or in the center just is just getting on with it. I think voices that are extremely polarizing, whether it's in politics or in automotive, kind of get people's attention. But if you look at EV registration rates, how high Texas and Florida perform, if you speak with dealers in those markets who like can't sell enough of them,
Mhm.
that's yeah, I think it's just looking at that data. And I would speak to dealers in really hot climates like Florida and Texas, and why EVs are selling. Well, if you go to Florida, it's like one would assume that someone in Florida doesn't want an EV. Well, guess what? They already get around an electric golf cart in their community, and they just found out that the EV they have that just charges in their freestanding home, when it's 120 degrees outside, they can keep the cabin cold, and they never have to get into a hot vehicle ever again. So there are all these really unique things where people are like, I don't need to make this political. It's a really hot day, and my car will always be 64 degrees or 62 degrees. And
Yeah.
I plug it in at home, and like that's my thing done. So it's always like when you look past it, um, what media is saying, and you actually look at the dealers and you look at the registration data. Uh, Most people don't care, regardless of what state they're in. And more so, we're seeing it's just another car. Um, it's like kind of like being anti-iPhone, you know,
Yeah. Yeah.
10 years ago. It's
Okay.
fine.
Well,
Yeah.
perfect. Great answer. Love it. I agree. Help me to, kind of like think about it. So Marco, thank you very much. And we're going to stop the recording.
Thanks,
Don't
Video.
go away.